Hey everyone, and welcome to another video here on my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Modern Warfare 3 campaign. I know this is a little bit different of a video compared to what I normally upload, but I did make a Modern Warfare 2 campaign review in which I praised it. I thought some of the different missions with the crafting were fun, and that one stealth mission had some kind of horror elements to it, and I thought the atmosphere was just really well done. However, and you can already tell where I'm going with this because you saw the title of this video, the Modern Warfare 3 campaign is probably one of my least favorite campaigns in the entire Call of Duty series, beating only the Black Ops 3 campaign because that one was just horrible. That was nonsense. But this one honestly isn't too far off. If you're worried about spoilers, I will be discussing them, but I'll save those for later, and I'll let you know when you can click off the video if you don't want to be spoiled. But my major complaints with the campaign in this game are that the missions are just boring. Gameplay-wise, I'm not expecting it to be anything crazy. It's Call of Duty. I expect Call of Duty gameplay. But usually Call of Duty campaigns are these massive set-piece driven linear experiences, and that's really what makes them special for me. That's what makes me want to play them. Looking back at the great COD campaigns, you know, back in Black Ops 1, you have this mission controlling a gunship, just wreaking havoc, destroying villages and shit. The OG MW3 starts out with a giant battle in New York City, you know, just these massive moments and set pieces. But in this game, it really doesn't feel like anything major happens. It's really underwhelming. The new gimmicks, and I use the phrase new lightly, are these new open combat missions where you spawn in or land on a big open map and you have an objective to go and do, but you could also just look around for other equipment and guns laying around as well. And when I first heard about these, I was very worried they were going to be overutilized and take away from the overall experience of a traditional COD mission, which I'm unfortunately sad to say that I was right. These missions suck. There are, I think, 3 or 4 of these open combat missions in the game, and not only are they just completely boring, but they also don't make a whole lot of sense considering who we are playing as. They are basically DMZ or Warzone shovelware disguised as campaign missions, which just screams to me that they didn't have enough time to make actual campaign missions, so these were the cheap replacement for them. All you do is run from objective to objective with some AI enemies sprinkled about, and that's it. Nothing else happens. There's no cinematic moments that take place here. After the first one, I really just tried to speed run past all the other open combat missions because of how boring they were. They could have easily just been Spec Ops missions in the multiplayer. All they would have to do is allow co-op and it would feel no different. I'm not even kidding. And the reason they make zero sense is that I'm supposed to be playing as a tier 1 fucking operator, a member of the highly elite Task Force 141 sent to solve the world's problems and prevent a war. But I have to drop down and go scavenge for a fucking level 3 combat vest that can equip 3 armor plates at once? Or I have to go and run around to find a better weapon in a loot crate because the one that's assigned to me at the beginning isn't the best one for the job? How does that make any sense? It's even so bad that one of the missions, there's an area where you can rappel up right at the beginning, but unfortunately, you being a tier 1 operator, the best the military has to offer, you don't have one, so you have to go and find one before you can do that. Get this shitty ass Warzone content out of the campaign. I want nothing to do with it. It's like they're trying so hard to get the Warzone crowd to play the campaign by saying, look guys, you've played Warzone. Look, you can loot in the campaign too. It's just like Warzone. It's so awesome. One of the missions you even deploy by jumping out of the back of a plane like you would in Warzone and parachute down. I have expected Ghost to just flat out ask me in my comms, "Where we jumping, Johnny?" It just doesn't work. It's not good. It made the campaign a slog to play every time I had to hop back into one of these open combat missions. Also, fuck the armored enemies. This is something I didn't like from MW2. The armored enemies that just take a whole mag to kill, it's not fun. Even taking multiple headshots sometimes. I hated it in the previous game, and they brought them back in this game, and it's just as bad. Just more shitty Warzone mechanics in a mode that was always about the cinematic experience like you're playing a badass action movie. I don't really want to shit on the devs for trying something different here, but this really isn't different mechanically. It's just copying and pasting Warzone shit into the campaign where it should never belong. Now that was a pretty big rant, but not every mission is like that. There are a couple of missions that I did enjoy, like the first mission of the game, for instance. This one does feel like your typical Call of Duty mission. You're going down into a prison, into the gulag, with the lights off, shooting people on the way down. All the prisoners eventually get freed, and it's this massive battle. And this is what I'm looking for in a COD campaign. If every mission was like this, it would be fine, but it's not, because directly after that, you are just fed DMZ missions. The snow level also wasn't that bad. That was probably another one of my favorite missions because just the scenery of having the snow is cool. Although I did hate the fact that the enemy snipers not only had thermal proof vests so you couldn't see them with your thermal scopes, but they were also armored so they took multiple shots to kill from a sniper. You also don't really see too many new weapons being used in the campaign. I was trying so hard to find some Modern Warfare 3 weapons to use on the ground, but a lot of the enemies are just equipped with Modern Warfare 2 weapons. Can't tell you how many times I just picked up an Expedite 12 shotgun from the ground in these missions. I can probably count on one hand how many new MW3 guns I used in the MW3 campaign, which just further shows to me that this is supposed to be Modern Warfare 2 DLC, along with the fact that the campaign is probably the shortest one in COD history. It's about 4 hours long. I streamed for about 3.5 hours on the launch day of the campaign, and I was going to wrap up the stream and finish it later that night when my chat told me that I'd left off on the final mission of the game, and I was like, what? Already? That fast? And so now I guess this is where I will get into the spoilers and talk about some individual missions and plot points. So if you haven't played the campaign yet, then this would be your time to exit the video. The story isn't completely horrible here, but to me it just feels like we are never in danger at all. Like there are no stakes for what we're doing. And at the end of the game, it feels like we are at the same point we started essentially. Nothing really massive ever happens with the main characters until literally the final 10 minutes of the game. I'm not even joking. The No Russian mission that they were hyping up at the end of MW2 ended up being mostly a cutscene. You play Samara, who is a former freedom fighter for Urzikstan, and Makarov is framing them so it looks like they were the ones to commit the act instead of Makarov. And I think this mission would have played out better if you were playing as the bad guys here. Show us exactly how they were able to get a fucking suicide vest on the plane. The guns are 3D printed to smuggle in easier, but I don't know how they would get a vest like that onto a plane. I think it would have done way more to build tension if you started out at the airport as one of the hijackers and they showed the devious plan coming into action as you go through security and board the plane before all the hell breaks loose. Because that's what the original No Russian mission from the OG MW2 did. You, the player, have to play through the horrific act and immediately you just know how fucked up Makarov is. Obviously, they were trying to play it a bit safe here. I don't think there's any way they would put another scene like the original No Russian mission in a current COD game. The main issue I have about the story, though, comes at the ending. The final mission of the game is your team going to defuse bombs placed in a subway tunnel to prevent Makarov from blowing up the tunnels, killing hundreds of people. But this doesn't feel like a traditional final mission in a COD game. Look at the OG Modern Warfare trilogy and their final missions. COD 4, the final mission, you kill Zakhaev. MW2, you have the infamous boat chase mission going after Shepard and you kill him after a badass fight sequence. Modern Warfare 3, the OG, you mow down enemies in a Juggernaut suit making your way towards Makarov. This game, you go and defuse a bomb, except while you're in the middle of defusing it, Makarov comes out of nowhere for a surprise attack and shoots Soap. Then Soap gets up and stabs him, and Makarov ultimately executes him and escapes, all in a matter of like 20 seconds. And Soap is now dead. There's no build-up whatsoever, nothing. They come in, kill him, and dip. Right before Ghost and Gaz show up conveniently. They weren't there to cover you while you defuse the bomb because they got held up by the opposing forces, so they arrived in just a second too late. It just felt like such a rushed way to kill off one of the series' most iconic characters. Again, comparing it to Soap's death in the OG MW3, that entire mission is about his death. He falls off the building after it blows up, you carry him through all the gunfire and bad guys, and ultimately he dies on the table with an emotional scene from Price. Way more impactful. This just felt like a cheap death in comparison to that. And yet another important scene happens in the middle of the credits. Shepard is in his office at night, and Price appears. The two exchange a few words before Price finally takes him out. Which, again, why don't we have any involvement here? How awesome would it have been if this was a bonus playable scene after the credits where you spawn outside the building with the objective of entering the office, but the game doesn't tell you whose office or where you're at to leave you in suspense. So you walk up to the office and sit at the chair in the dark until ultimately Shepard walks in, and then you press a button to get up out of the chair, take out your handgun, and in gameplay, you can listen to his last few lines of dialogue or just pop him instantly, which would cut right into a cutscene where it shows him falling onto the desk dead and Price exiting through the door before going back into the credits. I think that would have been a way better way to end off the game instead of just watching a cutscene because again, this is a game. Let me be the one to kill him, not a cutscene. Shepard is a very big death to occur without any of our input behind it. But yeah, that's my overall review of the Modern Warfare 3 campaign. A very lackluster experience that probably should have just been a DLC for MW2. Honestly, if this was just a DLC, I think it probably would have been rated better. Like, if they sold this as a $15 expansion to play, I don't think it would have been criticized as much. But since it is the official whole campaign of Modern Warfare 3, it's being criticized, and rightfully so. I also want to make this clear, I think the characters are well acted, and I think they did a good job overall with the new Makarov. Just the fact that nothing really impactful happens until the end is kind of my issue. If Soap and Shepard's deaths happened like midway through the story, and then it continued on from there, it would have been much better, but we literally end the campaign where we started, hunting down Makarov, except now Soap's dead. Let me know what you guys thought about the campaign in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to leave a like as well as subscribe to my channel for more content. I also want to give a huge shout out to all my channel members for your support. If you'd like to become a member for some exclusive perks, you can either use the join button or the link that's down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.